Mitt Romney has the momentum back after a big win in Arizona and a narrow victory over Rick Santorum in Michigan. But with Super Tuesday next week, the race of the Republican campaign, the pace of the Republican campaign, is what she's trying to say, is not about to let up. It is 8 o'clock. Welcome back to CBS This Morning. I'm Gail Kay.
And I'm Charlie Rose. This morning we want to look closer at how the campaign is affecting the Republican Party as a whole. Chief Washington correspondent, we call him Chief, host of Face the Nation, Bob Schieffer is here again with us. Also, Andy Card, former White House Chief of Staff of President George W. Bush. Good morning, Andy Cards. Welcome to the broadcast. You're in College Station, home of the Aggies, and the Bush Library.
The Bush School and the Bush Library and the Bush Museum, and I tell you, happy leap day to you, and I want to say happy leap birthday to my hometown of Holbrook, Massachusetts, incorporated in 1872 on leap year day.
All right, good for them. Let's start with politics and this question. How badly divided is your party?
You know, it's not as badly divided as everybody thinks it is. I actually think the party is going to start coming together pretty quickly. Mitt Romney had a big night last night. He not only did he win in Arizona, he actually had a pretty good victory in Michigan, especially when you consider some of the mischievous tricks that were played by the Democrats. I think his margin of victory is much more than it looks on paper because of the Democrats voting in the Republican primary. So I think he had a great night.
Some are arguing even that if Santorum had run a better campaign, it would have been a much better result for him. But Santorum ran a bad campaign, got tied down by social issues, and did not talk about the bread and butter economic issues that most voters in Michigan care most about.
Well, I think that all of the candidates, first of all, they've been running a terrific campaign. This, from a political science point of view, this is exciting times. We love watching it. We're all learning about the process of winning a nomination, and then we'll learn about the process of electing a president. But I hope the Republican Party starts to come together and focus on the real mission, and that is to make sure that the White House is not going to be held by the Democrats for a long time.
Andy, I just heard you say that Republicans really don't have to worry, but the other day, John McCain did an interview and said it's like looking at a Greek tragedy. If you're a Republican and you've supported the party for many years, when should you start worrying if now is not the time?
Well, I think we're starting to see that the voters are starting to coalesce around a likely candidate, and it's still a process where Mitt Romney has to earn the victory. He can't coast to victory. He has to earn the victory. And the Super Tuesday states are going to be very interesting to watch. This is an uncharted territory for the Republican Party because we don't have winner-take-all primaries in every state the way we used to. So this process was designed to play out for a longer period of time, and it will. But I think Mitt Romney has got the momentum and is likely to be the Republican nominee.
Bob Schieffer's with us also.
Hey, Andy, how are you? I haven't talked to you in a long time. I was very interested to hear you say that how this is really helping things. I mean, why is this helping? I mean, here these guys are tearing each other apart. Yeah. I mean, they're getting into things that weren't even on a lot of people's minds. I mean, Rick Santorum talking about people ought not to go to college or whatever it was he said. Why is that good? I mean,
well, I'm not saying that every tactic has not been good, but I think the process has been very inviting to a lot of people. A lot of people are paying attention. The media is paying attention. The people are paying attention, and they're going to learn more and more about our nominee, and they will also learn more about the solutions.
But what if that's what they're learning about their nominee is not so good, like all the gaffes that Mitt Romney's committing? If you learn some things, it's not necessarily in the interest of the party or the candidate.
Well, I agree that we are giving fodder to the Democrats for use in ads in the fall, but I actually think our candidates are going to be better tested through this process and stronger because of it. This election is going to be about the changes necessary to put America back on the front lines of the worlds of economic affairs and diplomacy and protection. And I think that's what the voters will come to recognize and support. We have a very late convention this year for both the Republicans and the Democrats, but there are at least 3 campaign seasons before we get to the general election between now and November. So I think we're going to have a process that plays out pretty well. It's exciting if you're, I'm on the fence. I'm not supporting any candidate in the Republican primary nomination process. It's the first time in my adult life that I've been on the sidelines, but I've enjoyed watching it. I enjoy thinking about collecting the votes to win the nomination. I don't think it's going to be a brokered convention, but it could be. But I think that
Andy,
right now
saying,
the momentum
Andy,
is clearly with Mitt Romney.
Are you saying that if it's between Mitt Romney, Newt Gingrich, and Rick Santorum and Ron Paul, you're undecided?
I am on the fence. It's not that I'm undecided. I'm very respectful of the position I hold
What's
as
the
the
difference
acting
of being
dean of
on the
Bush
fence
School.
and undecided?
Well, no. I will cast my vote, and I know how I will vote, but I am not endorsing a particular candidate during this primary process. I will be for the Republican nominee, and I will be enthusiastically for the Republican nominee once we have one.
Bob.
Andy, when do you think that they'll have a nominee? I mean, you said you don't think it's going to be a brokered convention, but do you think Republicans may actually get to the convention without somebody having the delegates they need for the nomination? In other words, you think it could be actually contested?
Well, in 1976 was the last Republican convention where the nominee of the party was not known when we got to the convention.
I was there. You were
And I
too.
was there as well.
Yes.
That 1976 in Kansas City, and Gerald Ford ended up getting the nomination of the party, and it was a very, very interesting convention. Ronald Reagan gave a great speech after he didn't get the nomination. But I actually feel that this time we're likely to find that the Republican Party wants to win in November, and we'll start coalescing around the likely victor for our party, I think, before we get to the convention. So we could have a convention where we don't know the real winner when we get there, but I think when the delegates actually show up and get on the floor, they'll start to recognize winning the presidency is more important than fighting over who's going to be the
If you
nominee.
had to guess, who do you think they'll pick? Just a guess.
Well, I think Mitt Romney has the infrastructure in place and the momentum going for him right now. He's certainly been tested, and I like to see our candidates really, really tested, and Mitt Romney is being tested.
All right, but at least you're saying one of these men will be the nominee. You do believe that?
Well, you don't get to pick the perfect nominee in a primary process. You end up picking the candidate who will best represent the party, and there's a big difference between perfection and best. And I happen to have a perfect candidate for president. His name is John Ellis Bush, Jeb Bush, but he's not running. And so I think that let the process work, and I think we'll get a candidate that will do a great job for our party and a better job for America when he takes the office in 2013.
You think Jeb Bush regrets that he didn't run?
Oh, I don't think anybody really looks back and regrets decisions they made in good faith. And I love Jeb Bush. He'd be a great president of the United States, but he's also a terrific party leader for our party. And I
Thank
think
you very
he'll be
much.
part of the solution.
All right.
Andy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank
Carter.
you.
Bob Schieffer, always good to see you. Thank you.